Does Pastor John Hanna have too much personality for the pulpit? People are wondering, is this worship or has the stage become a circus? As they watch anything from running laps around the sanctuary to dramatic sermons that resemble concerts more than churches. But here's the most bizarre part. More people are following him than ever before. Behind the yelling, the perspiration, and the show, what's actually happening? You most likely see a pastor as someone who is cool, collected, and perhaps even a touch reserved. Someone who stands behind a pulpit and delivers the word gently while making deliberate movements and tones. However, Pastor John Hanna stomps on that mold after breaking it. Pastor Hanna has caused a sensation in the church community with his explosive energy, impromptu dancing, shouting into the microphone, and even sprinting around his sanctuary at full speed. He is said to be filled with the Holy Spirit by some. Some claim that he is acting. This is where things become fascinating though. His church is growing, not contracting. His impact is spreading well beyond the boundaries of Chicago's New Life Covenant Church, and his internet lectures are becoming viral. This video explores John Hanna's true identity behind the pulpit, why his unrestrained and outrageous manner has enraged both his detractors and supporters, and whether his high-octane ministry is fostering revival or performance-driven religion. Prepare to hear what the mainstream church doesn't want to discuss and make your own judgment. Is Pastor John Hanna a distraction to the Church of Christ or a prophetic innovator? Let's begin. A man named John Hanna was quietly employed in ministry and radio before the fervor, theatrics, and viral moments. He was a servant, a youth pastor, and a prayer warrior long before he was recognized as the pastor who transformed Sunday services into a full-body experience. He put in countless hours behind the scenes, encouraging communities in the center of Chicago, leading prayer lines at 4 a.m., and planning youth rallies. In 2004, he formally established New Life Covenant Southeast, beginning with a vision and a small group of people. Even in those early years, John stood out for his unwavering refusal to conform. John Hanna inclined toward expression, whereas other preachers adhered to convention. During preaching, there is a lot of loud praise, emotional transparency, dancing, yelling, crying, and even laughing. This would not be a quiet church, he made clear. This is when things get wild. From celebrities and businessmen to gang members and single mothers, people flocked there. His church began to fill up, not because of a well-executed production or catchy music, but because something new was taking place. Not everyone was celebrating though. The criticism of John Hanna increased along with his profile. He was accused of converting church into entertainment by conservative Christians and church elders. But then something unexpected happened. One internet commentator commented, "What John Hanna's doing isn't ministry, it's a circus. People are coming for the show, not the spirit." In a live video that was viewed by thousands of people, John Hanna took aim at the hate. Do you want a revered silent preacher? Find one now. I can run laps for Jesus' glory though, if he turned the tables in the temple. I have witnessed too much, endured too much, and prayed for too many people to remain motionless. He was not going to back down. It should have been another Sunday. As usual, the church was full. The choir had just concluded a stirring performance of praise. However, there was a change in the air when Pastor John Hanna took the stage that day. "When the Walls Fall Down" was the title of his message. However, he had an unplanned emotional outburst, pacing, screaming, and shouting before he had even opened his Bible. The sanctuary was in disarray in a matter of minutes. Following that, Pastor Hanna said, "I feel God moving," as she sprinted around the entire church building twice in the middle of the night, sparking a social media frenzy. Instagram and TikTok took off. A few in the throng broke down in tears and went to their knees. The internet had a field day, while others were perplexed. It was dubbed a revival by some. Some referred to it as a show. Like wildfire, the videos went viral. Responses were flooding in. "This isn't a sermon. Showboating is what this is. Pastor Hanna is someone I adore. He is honest, unvarnished, and genuine." This is the reason why church is no longer taken seriously. Here's what folks are unaware of though. None of it was intended by Pastor Hanna. In a subsequent interview, he stated, "I can't just stand behind a pulpit and whisper about Jesus. I have to move when I consider how many people I've buried, how many moms have lost sons, and how many children are growing up without hope." His emotional sensitivity is what gives him power. I have to shout because the pain is real. He doesn't make theoretical claims. He preaches from survival, life, and wounds. Critics, however, continue to reject it. Following that widely shared service, a number of well-known pastors took to their platforms to accuse John Hanna of fostering chaos in God's home and taking use of people's emotions. There's a fine line between freedom in the spirit and flesh-driven chaos, and Pastor Hanna just crossed it. One person even asserted the argument was about theology, not just fashion. Are spiritual and emotional worship the same thing? The following week, John Hanna doubled down with a sermon titled Undignified Praise, the only way he knows how to respond. He danced, yelled, and even rolled on the ground. If that makes him undignified, I'll also accept that title. After the service, he only stated, David danced until his clothes came off. But the larger question was starting to be heard more and more. Was all of this unadulterated passion indeed inspired by the Spirit? Or was it a planned strategy to gain popularity, establish a reputation, and make millions of dollars? It becomes increasingly complex the further we delve. The financial aspects of John Hanna's ministry are also discussed in the following section, along with the reasons why some people think that money rather than ministry is stoking the flames. Let's face it, the distinction between ministry and profit becomes hazy when a pastor turns into a brand. Furthermore, that distinction is not merely hazy in the instance of Pastor John Hanna. It's daring, contentious, and widely spoken about. Let's start by discussing numbers. With an estimated 20,000 active members and a digital presence that extends well beyond the pulpit, Pastor Hanna is the leader of New Life Covenant Church, Southeast in Chicago. Between digital products, book sales, speaking engagements, streaming income, and in-person tithing, according to some insiders, his ministry makes more than $10 million a year. Tithing is, of course, biblical. Every ministry needs financial help. This is where things become fascinating, though. It's not a modest lifestyle for Pastor Hanna. He has reportedly owned several fancy cars, taken first-class mission trips across the world, and is frequently spotted sporting expensive sneakers and custom-tailored outfits. In a previous lecture, he even said that his stylist is skilled at making his ministry seem like culture. Make ministry feel like culture. That's right. What does that signify, though? Is it a means of reaching out to the younger, contemporary generation? Or is it a code word for using church funds to create a personal empire? This is a pivotal occasion that caused indignation. Pastor Hanna was seen discussing the value of giving during one live broadcast service. A payment app and a QR code appeared on the screen as soon as he challenged his audience, stating, "If you can drop $500 in a pair of shoes, don't come to church tipping God." Many of the followers applauded. They donated. They accepted the vision. Others, however, accused it of manipulation on social media. So, we're equating tithing to buying shoes. Now, this isn't worship, it's marketing, one reader commented. But it doesn't stop there. Pastor Hanna has started a number of side projects over the last 5 years. His books consistently top Amazon's religion and spirituality charts, and he's even branched out into merchandising, selling branded Wild for Jesus gear, hoodies, hats, mugs, and even journals. His Prayer on the Nine movement, a popular prayer gathering on Chicago's South Side, attracts thousands of attendees and even sponsors partnerships. According to a former member of New Life Covenant, who wished to remain anonymous, I started feeling like I was more of a customer than a Christian. Some regard this as innovation, while others refer to it as spiritual capitalism. The crazy thing is that these things frequently sell out within hours. Every speech included a call to action, a brand, and a product, but I no longer felt fed. I was convinced. The most important question, though, is this one. Is Pastor Hanna only using contemporary methods to preach a timeless message? Or is he abusing the gospel for financial gain? No one knows the answer, not even in the church community. Some pastors have defended Hanna, claiming that he is just doing what is necessary to draw attention to Christ in today's distracted society. However, detractors contend that a problem arises when a pastor starts to dominate the pulpit. According to insiders, Hanna controls every aspect of the church's finances and rarely or never reports to the public where donations are used. Although there isn't any concrete proof of misconduct, the lack of openness has simply fueled the flames, because something darker is always possible when there's influence, wealth, and power. When a guy who is called to shepherd souls starts to resemble a celebrity more than a servant, what happens? In the following section, we explore the criticism that John Hannah has received, not only from outsiders, but also from inside the Black church community, and the reasons why some pastors believe that she is too wild for church. There has always been more to the Black church than just worship. Through generations of adversity, survival, and fortitude, it has served as a spiritual lifeline, a political force, and a cultural anchor. Therefore, it is not ignored when someone breaks that custom, particularly when they do so loudly, flamboyantly, and without apology. Despite his success and magnetism, Pastor John Hannah is currently dealing with increasing criticism from the same group of people who once supported him. First, let's talk about last year's National Church Leadership Conference. Several prominent bishops and senior pastors, some of whom have served for decades in the ministry, reportedly discussed a troubling tendency they are observing in contemporary ministries in a private meeting. There's a difference between revival and a rave. One of them reportedly stated in a leaked transcript that some of these churches currently resemble Coachella more than Calvary. Many saw it as a direct jab at John Hannah's raucous praise sessions, in which worshipers do laps around the sanctuary, lights flash, and Hannah himself shouts and jumps across the pulpit, even though no names were mentioned. When videos of Hannah's services began becoming viral for the wrong reasons, that was the true tipping point. In one such film, he was seen sobbing while kneeling on stage, while the worship team performed a praise song in the R&B style, accompanied by what many believe to be a concert band rather than a gospel choir. Millions of people saw the video. However, there was disagreement in the comment section. Worship ought to look like this, free and unadulterated. This is a performance, not worship. Is there no respect? After that, there were panel debates on YouTube, Christian radio, and even Clubhouse. Hannah was accused by a number of reputable theologians of diluting the word in favor of sentimental rhetoric. In a sermon about spiritual responsibility, Dr. Jamal Bryant made what may have been the biggest statement. You can't be a ringmaster in a circus and still call yourself a shepherd of God's people. He didn't name anyone, but the timing was exactly right for Hannah's most recent viral video. Why is it important then? Due to the fact that the Black church is at a turning point. Tradition, discipline, organization, and a deeply ingrained theology are on one side. On the other side are invention, vitality, modernism, and authenticity. Not everyone is interested in following John Hannah, who occupies the center. Hannah's services are like spiritual roller coasters. Fun, fast, emotional. But do people leave changed or just entertained? And then there are those who once looked up to him who now feel betrayed. A respected elder pastor from Detroit said in public, in an anonymous interview, a former New Life worship leader who worked with Hannah for almost 6 years said, he used to preach about humility, obedience, and spiritual growth, but somewhere along the line, it became about Instagram moments, ostentatious sets, and being talked about. He changed, but at this point, things become even more complicated because for every critic, there are a number of supporters who say he's real, he understands us, and at last, there's a church that feels alive. Who is correct then? Is Pastor John Hannah a threat to the gospel, or is he what the church's next generation needs? The controversy surrounding Pastor John Hannah boiled beneath the surface for months, with arguments in low-key pulpits, rumors among church elders, and arguments on social media. The 2024 Worship Without Walls Revival, an outdoor event that brought together Christians from all walks of life, took place in Atlanta, Georgia, and thousands of people came anticipating an evening of spirit-led worship. However, everything changed after one event, one night, and one moment that many now call the night Pastor Hannah crossed the line. However, what they saw was unimaginable at the height of the evening. During what should have been a solemn altar call, the mood changed significantly, and the music grew louder. But instead of a familiar hymn or a gentle piano, a trap rhythm sprang from the speakers. The air was filled with colored smoke machines as Pastor Hannah, wearing a fancy costume that many claimed was more appropriate for a pop performance than a church, took the stage, dancing, and shouted into the microphone. This is how we break chains in 2024. The audience yelled, not like your grandmother did, like we do it now. As the worship moment progressed, dancers dressed in street clothes and lit sneakers took to the stage to perform choreographed movements, while members of the audience started filming in shock. Videos went viral on TikTok and Instagram that night, and the comments were harsh. Some people cheered wildly, while others stood motionless in shock. The most incriminating moment came from a clip that was swiftly removed from his official channels, but not before thousands of people downloaded and uploaded it. I used to like Pastor Hannah, but now I don't. Is this church or the Bet Awards? This man has to sit down. God is not mocked. I'm done with boring church, Pastor Hannah declared to the audience in the video. Visit a library if you want to be quiet. This is your church if you want Jesus with fire and energy. Within 48 hours, a number of nearby churches withdrew from upcoming activities, and Hannah's scheduled speech was canceled by a well-known Christian university. The greatest blow came from within, as a founding elder of New Life Covenant Southeast, who had worked with Hannah since the beginning of the church, publicly resigned, writing in her post, "What we built was a sanctuary." The ministry network, which was formerly close allies and was based in Chicago, also released a statement publicly distancing themselves. What it's becoming, I don't recognize anymore. This wasn't just a controversy, it was a spiritual crisis for some. Many young followers defended Hannah fiercely, but for older generations, even those who appreciated his style, this went beyond bold. It felt like betrayal. A 72-year-old longtime churchgoer posted, "I love energy. I adore change. However, I'm not there to rave at church. I'm here to heal." What does this mean for John Hannah? He hasn't resigned or apologized publicly. Instead, he shared a mysterious Instagram story that said, "Don't expect everyone to understand what God told you to do." Some people claim that he is courageous. Pastor John Hannah is at the center of this firestorm. Where do we go from here? Is John Hannah a visionary bringing the church into the 20th century, or a warning sign of what happens when ego and entertainment eclipse the sacred? That depends on who you ask. But the truth is that the line between praise and performance has never been more blurred. Some say he's reckless, while others say he's bringing in revival, and still others say he's ruining the church. What is worship supposed to look like in 2025? Can church leaders push boundaries and still be true to the word? Most importantly, are we being led by the Spirit or by spectacle? These are some of the difficult questions that people like Pastor John Hannah are making us all ask as the church is changing. This conversation is just getting started, so leave your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next breakdown, and share this video with someone who needs to see what's going on behind church doors today.